1420 WEMB Sports Radio Irwin. Real sports talk. A Jet broadcasting station.
You know, something we have had in this past weekend. I mean, football season is starting up. We got that. We have had a ball player from Minnesota Twins who are hitting home runs left and right, his ball juiced. I'm not so concerned about the ball being juiced as much as I say, just the launch angle. I think it's just how hitters are being taught to hit now. But no, none of that. What's the big thing? That wasn't Watkins Glen. It's a big thing in sports this weekend. Baker Mayfield chugs a beer, and I've got a take on it. Now, hey, I'm Marky Billson, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-City sports fans on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, where we own the Tri-Cities with the best guests and the hardest-hitting opinions in the market. You can also listen to us on jetbroadcasting.live online. Take us with you on your iPhone, your iPad, your tower computer, wherever you may be. Yes, you'll be able to listen to 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, not just this program hosted by me, but also you'll be able to hear Colin Cowherd, who I'm going to talk about here in just a sec. Chuck Oliver, the Fox Sports Radio Network, certainly best sports morning program in the morning in the market, and that would be Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis, fellow Tennessean. And then there's always Dan Patrick. So, we got a lot of things going on here. I've got some big news. Well, not big news. I got some news on Freedom Home to discuss here. But I think what everybody's talking about is is not necessarily Colin Cowherd, but we're waiting with bated breath on what Colin Cowherd is going to say in a couple of hours about Baker Mayfield chugging his beer. Now, you didn't see it Saturday. It was the game of the week actually. I was watching this, and Indians are playing the Angels. Yeah, it might not be the most glamorous matchup, but, got Mike Trout. You got a team that's in a pennant race, all those. And Baker Mayfield. Practice is over. Let's head to the Indians game. He's wearing a Francisco Lindor jersey. Realizes that the spotlight is on him. And he chugs a Miller Lite, if I got right next to his newlywed wife there. And then the Indians are up for 5 runs and they beat the Angels 11-3. And it's been the talk. There was a no-hitter that day. No, that's not the talk of baseball. Like I said, Minnesota Twins at home run. Football, it's Baker Mayfield chugs a beer. That's what everybody's talking about. Crowd at Cleveland just loved it. It's a shot in a beer town. Of course they are. And it reminded me of this. I'm going to take this local. 3 years ago, Dobbs to Jennings beating Georgia, or as I like to say, Jaja, as the locals generally do, 34-31. And what happened there? And think about this. What happened there? Remember Butch Jones and his reaction. Jumping up and down, tossing off his headset, going to one knee as if to pray in thanks. It did capture the moment. It may have captured Butch Jones. In the way that, and this is hindsight, because I don't know if anybody really said it at the time. It was part of the moment. But now, looking back, 32 games later for the Tennessee Volunteers, and they've only won 13 of them. Could that have been the beginning of the end? Tennessee does this, and it reminds me, not just the Jimmy Haslam tie-in, But this reminded me of how maybe the Browns and the Vols are similar. They haven't won in a long time. It's been 30 years, 26 seasons, since the Browns won a division. Most of those years were in a 4-team division. Even the old AFC Central only had 4 teams. And you think about that, no division titles, 30 years. No playoffs since 2002. 2002. So they haven't made the playoffs in 17 years. They haven't had a winning season about 10. Last won a playoff game in 94. I mean, it's been a long time, So after 2 years of going 1-31, team puts up 7-8-1. Suddenly, that looks good to Cleveland Browns fans. And they got a new quarterback who did pretty well, and he's kind of cocky, and we've seen this before in Tennessee. Beaten down, a couple losing seasons in 4 years. Here comes Lane Kiffin. Hot, fresh thing. With a hot wife, too, remember? But no, the hot, fresh thing was to hire the coach from the NFL. And he's a young up-and-comer, Lane Kiffin. Why, he could be here for 20 years. That's what you thought. They were talking about at the introductory press conference beating Florida. How many times has Tennessee beaten Florida since then? Yeah. And they weren't exactly kicking the Gators' butt before then either. And don't you see, it's sort of counting, it's not sort of, it is. It's counting your chickens before they hatch. I'm going to use an older term, there you go. That's exactly what it is. You go and then you look at Butch Jones a little bit less. That victory against Georgia in 2016, Tennessee was 5-0. Ranked 9th in the country. Texas A&M was up next. Lost to them in I don't know how many overtimes. 3-game losing streak started 4-4 to finish the year, and then bottom really started to fall out, right? How come they're struggling with Massachusetts? Okay. But this is the deal. You remember how Jones acted, and when Tennessee started to lose, there was this idea, wait a minute here, it was like Butch Jones going crazy. Where's the discipline? I mean, he did not expect the Vols to win. Admittedly, after Georgia had scored a go-ahead touchdown with 10 seconds left, I don't know how many people really thought that, but there was no composure. That was the thing. And there is a similarity between that and what Baker Mayfield did on Saturday with that other Jimmy Haslam-influenced team. Now, the Browns are sort of the chic pick, and I think that I would pick them to win the AFC North right now. I really would, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking about a 24-year-old man playing frat boy, basically, which 24-year-old men tend to do. He's got the attention, how does he, and this is the new thing. Yeah, he's going to chug a beer. All right? At least this is better than some of those photos I used to see of Ben Roethlisberger where he'd have a whiskey bottle and be pouring it down a co-ed's throat. I'm not a father, but I used to think, boy, if I was and I saw Ben Roethlisberger throwing whiskey down my daughter's throat, I think I might be at Steelers practice headquarters the next day and asking him what the hell's going on. And yes, I demand to see Mr. Roethlisberger for what, this is my daughter, excuse me. I mean, I think that I would be doing something like that. Having a little conversation. And there wasn't that where you're doing it to someone else, you're doing it to yourself with Baker Mayfield. And, end of the day, he drank a beer at a baseball game. Okay. As I said before, Cleveland, shot in a beer town. This isn't the Bible Belt, so to speak, where he drank a beer around here. That sort of thing. So you can see why people would cheer, da-da-da. I get it. Okay. And like I said, the Browns are the chic pick now in the NFL. They're 20-1 to win a Super Bowl, same as the Steelers. In fact, among the odds, that would make them the 10th most favorite team. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns, to win the Super Bowl. They've never been to the Super Bowl. They're 20-1 to win it. Think about that. But what we have now coming up after me is Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd has questioned Baker Mayfield's leadership. A lot of it has to do with Baker Mayfield. There's a story in complex.com you can look at where he actually starts commenting on Colin Cowherd, questioning his leadership and all this. And I'm thinking about that because who listens to Colin Cowherd for information about the Cleveland Browns? You read the Plain Dealer for information on the Cleveland Browns. You listen to WKNR for information on the Cleveland Browns. You or the Fan 92.3 or Mike Trevisano or something like that. You don't go to Colin Cowherd to get information or commentary about the dog pound. Let's face that fact, okay? And so what happened is that Mayfield could have just ignored it. National talk show. Again, who comments on, if I don't know, started commenting on the Dodgers around here, you really, really think that it's going to get into the Dodgers locker room in Los Angeles? Now, ETSU, Tennessee Volunteers, different story. Okay? But again, so it's similar though. Colin Cowherd, national perspective. Colin Cowherd can't get a coach fired like a local guy can by greasing the skids for said local coach. That Steve Forbes did snap at me now, didn't he? No, regardless. I'm sorry, the passing thought. All right. But the Cleveland Indians, by the way, they did have Baker Mayfield's back yesterday. They even made a tweet out of this. You can read about it on Medium. You can see, because I've done a story, I put my monologue up on Medium. This is Marky's monologue, and I've put my monologue up on Medium for you to enjoy. So you can start following me. I almost got 300 followers on Medium. And you've got a situation where the Indians with a tweet had Baker Mayfield's back. That's great. Like I said, Cleveland's shot in a beer town. He's the hometown hero. They're going to defend him. And at the end of the day, like I said, the criticism of Mayfield in this incident is a 24-year-old having a good time by playing to the crowd at a baseball game. He chugged a beer. This is essentially how Jimmy Kimmel got to where he is today. Okay, he had Fox Foster do it for him, but still. So, it also is not exactly behavior among football players unique to Baker Mayfield. A previous generation, Joe Namath had Johnny Walker. Baker Mayfield now has Miller Lite. Okay, they did. The Miller Lite, Cleveland signage at Indians games and all that, they've always been big. There's not really a local brewery there. There's probably one now, but anyway. But this is just the question. It's if Baker Mayfield lacks the discipline, and if that will torpedo what appears to be a football team on a rise. Okay, yeah, Vince Lombardi is spinning in his grave. But Vince Lombardi has been dead for almost a half century, too. You can say that. And it reminded me of this. After Derek Dooley, Butch Jones didn't look so bad. When he was 5-0 and number 9, we needed Bully Coach. Then Bully Coach got to be, Bully Coach. The act is wearing thin. What do we want from our media? That sort of thing. After Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield may be receiving the same benefit of the doubt from that other Jimmy Haslam-controlled team. Just a thought there. A little bit of a thought. Hey, I'm Marky Billson. Like I said, on today's show, 1 o'clock, I'm talking to Jerry Bonkowski about a dominant victory for Chase Elliott up at Watkins Glen road course. I enjoyed the road course very much. I always do. I think it's a great diversion from the tracks. Maybe wouldn't mind to see one or two more of those. As he mentioned, what about one in Chicago? We'll talk about, Road of America course. Why not? I think it's time. Tom Brady has an extension. I'm going to come back, though, and I also don't want you to forget about SoCon John Hooper at 1:30. I'm going to come back, though. News about Freedom Hall. I've got it. Nobody else does. Tri-Cities Sports Now coming up after this.
You won't use Zelle to repay me for the Renaissance Fair?